going on, everybody? Welcome. Today is Thursday. It is May the 4th. Star Wars Day 2023. My name is Jeremy. This is my first cup. That camera's sitting a little high. Let's fix that. There we go. How are you? How was your Wednesday? What did you do? And if you're here, I hope you'll chime in the chat. Who is here? Let's see. Good morning, Nathan. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning, Andrew. And all the rest of you out there, whether you're watching live, later, or listening. Remind me later. We've got a technical announcement. Some things are working. Good morning, Nick. Something that finally has almost happened. Will happen soon, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Figure that out later today. We've got a new episode of Martial Arts Radio to talk about. I think those are the big things on the housekeeping side. Good morning, Brian. But mostly, I want to know what's going on with you. How was your Wednesday, your hump day, your middle of the week? What did you do? If you're in the Patreon, you may have noticed that we dropped the original version of the Dan Anderson episode in there for you. If you're in the audio tier, you got access to the audio. If you're in the video tier, you got access to the video and the audio. If you can't tell, if you're in Patreon, if you can't tell, I've been looking for more and more and more stuff I can give you guys. If you're in Patreon, I want you to look at Patreon and go, there's no way I can enjoy even half of the stuff that Whistlekick is putting in here. Great. That's value to me. I want so much value. It's kind of like, think about Netflix or something, right? There's no way you're going to watch all that stuff. There's so much stuff. They're adding stuff faster than you could watch it. Great. That's what you want, isn't it? You want so much stuff that you can't help but always find something of value. Andrew says a pretty standard Wednesday for him, which isn't bad. Good morning, Jenny. Is anybody celebrating Star Wars Day in some fashion? Are you watching any of the movies? Are you dressing up? Are you playing one of the many Star Wars video games? What was the one that I played back in high school? The only Star Wars game I ever played was called X-Wing. X-Wing versus TIE Fighter? I don't remember. All I remember is that I figured out how to cheat. When you created a character, so the premise of the game was you were in Star Wars land, and it wasn't lightsaber combat, it was X-Wing combat, it was ship combat. And depending on the mission, you could bring people with you. So the idea is that you would develop these other characters. Well, you could develop the characters just by copying your character file and giving it a new name. So as far as you got, you could just kind of duplicate yourself. And I did that often. Dennis says, as a Patreon member, come on. As a Patreon member, I can say with certainty there is no way I'll ever be able to enjoy everything that Whistlekick has to offer, and that's a good thing. Yay! Thank you. Good morning, Andy. Jenny says that Matt is going to do a few Star Wars-themed drills in classes tonight. I'll be making blue milk and watching Star Wars stuff. Blue milk, is it just milk with food coloring? I've not heard of blue milk as a thing. Dennis says, Lego Star Wars is still my favorite Star Wars video game. Most of the Lego games are pretty darn good. Kelly says that tonight she'll be attacking students with, quote, lightsabers. I was having a conversation with someone about this idea that there's so much overlap in martial arts nerdiness and Star Wars nerdiness. And a lot of that, if you believe what I've read, that George Lucas based a lot of Star Wars Jedi culture around medieval samurai. So it's not a surprise to me that there's that much overlap. And I think it's something that as an industry we can take advantage of. I'm not suggesting that we go to the point of getting repeatedly gimmicky, but if your school has swords, I think it's a fun thing you can do for retention. I tried to partner with someone on doing a seminar that was basically, it was learn how to use a lightsaber, but it was all going to be real sword movements. And we were going to do it. My reason for doing it was going to make a little bit of money, but they had a school, and I was like, this is a great way to get people interested in what you're doing. This was a historical European martial arts school, and it didn't end up happening, but I still think the premise is sound. Andrew says you can get blue milk at Disney, and Jenny says, I'm sure there are other ways to do it, but I'm keeping it simple. I drink milk. I like milk. But it's interesting how just the idea of making it blue, my initial reaction is one of aversion. I'm not sure why. Kelly says, new episode idea, Star Wars nerdiness and Star Wars. I would not be the right person for that episode. I do like the Star Wars stuff, but I would not call myself a fan. Now, if it was Lord of the Rings, I'd be there with you. But my Star Wars knowledge and my Star Wars affinity is not where it is for some, even in this group. Dennis says, I slept a little later than usual after Superfoot Dojo last night, which was taught by Jim Ginter. So I'm still in my Star Wars jammies. Nice. Kelly went martial arts nerdiness and Star Wars. That's kind of what I was taking away from it. Well, so my yesterday went to the office, and it was a little annoying, a little frustrating, because the place that my office is, most of the parking in town is paid parking. Almost all the parking in town is paid parking. In fact, there's very little that isn't. There are a few spots that I know about, but those spots have been co-opted by a company who's doing paving. Or I shouldn't say co-opted. I just can't park there right now because they're doing paving work. So I moved my car twice yesterday because I couldn't keep feeding the meter. Park Mobile wouldn't let me do that. So that was a little annoying. So I spent $7, which is not much, $7.50 for parking yesterday. It wasn't even for the whole day. That was just for 6 hours. So I'm going to have to figure something out different today, because just the idea of running around and moving my car and having to parallel park and watch the clock and everything. No, if I can't park there, where would I park? I think there are meters all the way down there and there. I was trying to think of where there aren't meters. I don't know. I'll have to come up with something. I'll come up with something. Kelly's basement flooded again yesterday, but now the sump pump has been replaced. I'm sorry to hear that. I saw the pictures Andy put up yesterday, but sorry. So I mentioned at the top a technical announcement. First Cup is finally getting its own YouTube channel. I have this theory, and I'll spare you all the details of the theory, but the channel exists. It's youtube.com/@firstcup. You should be able to see that now. All that's there are banners. I cannot go live on that channel until later today. There was a 24-hour delay for some reason. But what will ultimately happen is that we will stop putting, just as we did with Facebook, right? We used to stream to the main Whistlekick channel. Now we stream to the First Cup channel exclusively. We will do the same thing on YouTube. There's no reason to change Twitch yet because we do nothing on Twitch other than this. But eventually we may do that if things with Whistlekick change. So I let you know about that now because there are some of you who do watch or listen on YouTube, and I'm going to encourage you to follow that channel and make sure you turn on notifications so that when we do start streaming to that, you won't miss out. What else? Is there anything else? It is Thursday, and there is an episode of Martial Arts Radio. If you're all caught up, maybe you're not caught up, but today is episode 211. It's a word association, the sixth word association that Andrew and I have done. Had a fun time with it. I always have a fun time with them. And what I think I like the most about them is they challenge me. I think often we forget that being challenged is a good thing. And something I wanted to share, I had a conversation with someone. I went to CrossFit last night, and there were a few of us talking. And I'm not even going to talk about the subject because it doesn't even matter. I came away from that conversation with the realization that we prioritize comfort in society, in our society, to such a point as to negatively impact nearly every part of our lives. We are best when we are at least uncomfortable. If you show me someone who is successful in a particular way, they became uncomfortable with where they were. They wanted to be more, do more, have more, whatever it was. And their version of comfort may not be the same as yours, and that's okay. But if you want to have more, do more, be more, you have to find a way to be uncomfortable. We've talked about why a lot, but your why has to reflect a desire for something that is not yet where you want it to be. Let's say it's financially. You have to be uncomfortable with the amount of money you have if you want more money. Otherwise, you're not going to get more money. And the more I think about this, because I spent a lot of time thinking about this on the drive home, the more I realize that we're the only species that's ever comfortable. Animals in the wild go through periods of comfort, but most of the time they are uncomfortable. The weather doesn't bother most animals because they're always subjected to the weather. But if you live around here, you know that a lot of animals have to do a lot of things to remain alive through the cold of winter, right? They're not comfortable. They can't articulate that because it's all they ever know. But they move from not having enough food to having a whole bunch for a short period of time, and it averages out. But it's those periods of lacking, I think, that are most important. So I'd like you to think about. No matter what it is, I'm starting to believe that the more comfortable we are, the less human we are. Talking about, Andrew says Andor was good. I have not watched I've not watched Andor. I have not watched the new Mandalorian series. I just haven't watched a lot of TV lately. It's the last few weeks. It's just been rewatching Big Bang Theory because they're short and I don't have to pay a lot of attention and they're funny. Coffee came out good. What am I doing today? I'll be at the office, calls with a bunch of people, and I will get the new training program, new whistle kick training program launched today. I have to get it launched because it's almost time. I think some of you are just a couple days from the end of Knee Clinic. Hopefully Knee Clinic is serving you well. I want to get up to 12 or 15 of these programs. And we're starting to sell more of them. The advertising that we're doing is starting to work. So that's good. What's the goal? I had a goal for myself. It was Yeah, if we can sell 3 programs a day without spending a ton of time, a ton of money on ad revenue, a lot of things change. Sold another 2 since I've last seen you. We've sold 2 more admissions to the martial arts teacher training and certification, on May 20th. So that's awesome. Pumped for that. There is still room. It's actually a decent amount of room, but we do have enough people showing up now that it's going to be a great class. There are some things that don't quite happen until we've got a good size room, and we have that now. So I'm excited. It's going to be great. Take care, Andy. I think that's it. So we're going to switch gears. I saw Frank send some stuff over. Thank you to Frank for all your work on the show. Thank you to Josh for our theme, and to Denise for the audio feed. If you listen to the podcast version, the audio only version, that's Denise. Make sure you thank her. Where are we? I got to go here. Buttons. Press some buttons. Come on. You can do it. What is to give light? What is to give light must endure burning. Viktor Frankl. Or to say it maybe with more modern grammar, whatever gives light must endure burning. Okay, let's see where that's going. That's an interesting thought. Whatever gives light gets hot. At least all natural forms of light are hot. Except maybe bioluminescence. I don't know about that. But if something is bright, it has to be able to handle the heat. And you could use the heat, literally, the heat of fire or whatever, the heat of the sun. But what about also the metaphorical heat, the attention? When something shines bright, it attracts attention. That attention is not always going to be good. Doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what the thing or the person has done. There will always be people who are bad about it. And the more they've done, the better it is, the brighter it shines, the more likely there are going to be people who are negative and hateful. The only thing I've ever seen everyone agree on is the first episode of The Last of Us. When I saw that Rotten Tomatoes viewer score had 100% on it, I said, oh, okay, we've all finally agreed on one thing. But of course, from there on, there was no agreement. There are places in our lives where many of us are afraid to shine because we're afraid of that bit of negative attention. Even if the majority of people find value in what you do, who you are, how you conduct yourself, there will always be people who are going to throw shade or cast aspersions. What's that phrase? Throw rocks. You can't let the minority bring you down. You can't let a few people steal your shine. And I'm saying this for myself even more than I'm saying it for you, because there are times I don't share things on social media because I can even see the people who are going to respond. Oh, that person is going to respond in this way. And sometimes I just don't have the energy to deal with it. So I don't share the thing. But I'm trying to get better at that. And if people just consistently throw rocks at me, well, then I tend to unfriend them, or at least unfollow them. There are some people in my life that are just so different online that I don't engage with them online, but they're better in person. I don't know. People are weird. Good morning to you, Gad. Here, let's move on. My brain is not wrapping around this one the way I'd like it to. When a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure. It's kind of what I was talking about before, isn't it? to change the view. Let's do that view. Pleasure is comfort. When you can't find a good reason to go through the discomfort, you hang out in comfort. But you have to go through the discomfort to have new things. Doesn't matter what it is. When was the last time a great martial arts class wasn't uncomfortable? I would say never. What's a comfortable martial arts class look like? Probably pretty low key, probably doing very little, probably not learning much. It's not comfortable. We have to get comfortable with discomfort. We have to find the value in what's on the other side, the growth. Some people call it type 2 fun. Right? In the moment, it kind of sucks, but you're glad you did it. Obstacle races are a great example of that, or running a marathon. It sucks while you're doing it, but you're glad you did it. For whatever reason, because you wanted to prove you could, because it was the culmination of a bunch of uncomfortable training. I think for a lot of us, there's something in that discomfort that makes us feel alive. Yeah. Stacy says she's been there on TikTok. The boards are pre-broken. Of course they broke. She's a whale. That first viral video was brutal. Now I know better, but some days they still sting, and there's far more yay than nay. And that's, I think, the way to look at it. There's more good than bad. And sadly, negative attention will always surface at a greater rate because we're hardwired to that. Which is unfortunate, but it's how we're built. Which is part of why when I'm on TikTok and I see people putting up things that I know are attracting some negative attention, I just try and jump in there and say something nice. What's our last quote here? Evermore, people today have the means to live, but no meaning to live for. There are a lot of people who their version of life is they get up, they go to their job that they don't really like, they come home, they decompress after their job, they go to bed, they repeat. On the weekends, they fix up their house, clean their house. Sometimes they go away, they do a fun thing with people they like. But if you look at the percentage of their life that they enjoy, it's very small. The means to live, but no meaning to live for. And most of us as martial artists are doing far better, right? We have things that we do in the evenings or on the weekends or first thing in the morning that mean something to us. They give us some why. They support us in our discomfort of training, right? That's it. To look at it another way, that's what Whistlekick does. We provide support to you, emotional support, social support, to keep going in that discomfort. And I keep looking at it more and more, and I'm so bummed for people. It makes me sad that so many of them do so many things that they hate, and they call that life. I hope most of your life is good and it fits your why and it keeps you moving forward and there's enough discomfort that you grow. I was uncomfortable with a number of things yesterday. Not terrified, not injured, but uncomfortable. And I'm starting to realize that that's a place I need to remain as much as possible. I need to be uncomfortable. I'm at my best when I'm at the edges of what I can handle. Because then I stop phoning it in. I give it my all. And my all is quite a bit. So is yours. Doesn't matter if we're talking about an event that we're putting on or a project that I'm doing for a client or anything. When I have to put everything I am into something, I feel alive, and the end result is pretty good. I think I could say the same for every one of you, whether you realize it or not. Have things in your life that require all of you. Places where you have to go all in. It's arranged when we do it that way. All right. Go check out today's episode of Martial Arts Radio, the Word Association. Remember, if you have words you want to contribute to the next one, send them to Andrew. He would love to have your ridiculous words that I have to stretch and be uncomfortable in finding relations between them and martial arts. Oh, pardon me. Oh. Go check out the audio or the video, or I put up the upcoming episodes on Patreon. Starts at $2 a month. Get in there. Check it out. Don't forget you can sign up for All In Weekend 2024 if you were there this past weekend. If you were not, you've got to wait until May 15th. The MADIC Martial Arts Teacher Trainer and Certification Course, May 20th, Exeter, New Hampshire. The new version of the Dragon Hoodie and a few other items, as well as a bunch of old items at whistlekick.com. Use the code FIRSTCUP15 to save 15%. And I think that's enough. I think that's enough housekeeping. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming by. I appreciate you watching or listening, whatever it is. Thanks for joining me for First Cup, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for Friday. Be well, everybody. Peace.